Sorry about that, guys. Cut out on me there for a second.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sweet.
Moore went to both of them and said, "Hey, remember that play you drew up on notebook paper on Thursday? Yeah, run it now."
Like, that's the thing that's kind of tripping me up here. We've been clowning Kyrie Irving for the past 5 years. I feel like I tell him on the show or something.
And Brett, I'll probably step out after the first segment if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Just we gotta start wrapping it up about the 15-minute mark, and we can't talk to each other during breaks. So,
Okay.
because they'll be able to hear that, because this is also going on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter live. So,
No problem.
30 seconds, guys. Get ready.
Your home for tryout sports. Sports Radio. Third one out of the second and fifth store. Smith corks one in the right down the line. And they go. Go crazy, folks. Go crazy. It's a home run. And the Cardinals have won the game. Welcome to The Score. Here's your host, Brett Wiseman.
What a pleasure it is to be live this afternoon, this Friday afternoon, January the 7th, 2022. Brett Wiseman, your host this afternoon, alongside Josh Scott and Alex Wober. As for the first time in the history of this show, we are live. If you don't know who we are or what we do, we talk about the biggest stories in sports, not only in the region, but around the country. And we have a roundtable of guests to discuss things. Desmond Johnson, our wonderful producer, is on with us today, as well as Josh and Alex. Guys, let's get into there's some not necessarily football related headlines in terms of the NFL. We'll dive into the whole Panthers Matt Rule fiasco momentarily, because Josh has some strong words on that. But there's two stories I want to touch on first before we get to the calamity that is going to be Week 18. Is the drama with Baker Mayfield and Antonio Brown. Now, the feeling around the league is that Antonio Brown he's used his last token, so to speak. He's done. He's out. He's not getting another job unless it's in the USFL or Canada. I don't even see a reason why the Toronto Argonauts would sign him right now, for God's sake. But look, whatever it is, whether he's just aloof for mental health reasons or if he's just an idiot, I don't know. But we heard his side. We heard the Buccaneers' side. There doesn't need to be all this drama going into Week 18. Nor does there need to be, okay, Baker Mayfield's not starting, and then magically, as soon as he goes to get shoulder surgery, he's all of a sudden unhappy with play calling. In my mind, Baker Mayfield being unhappy with play calling is not the issue. You go back and watch the last 3 or 4 games, his footwork, his form is so off. Go back to that Green Bay game specifically. All 4 of his interceptions, he either arched his back too much and threw a balloon ball, or he tried to throw a 98-mile-an-hour fastball into a Brett Favre-esque window. Baker Mayfield simply trying to do too much with what he's given, and he's putting the blame on someone else.
For me, the Baker Mayfield situation, it's a tricky situation, Brett, because of the success that they had last season, and they went very far in the playoffs, almost won an AFC championship. I don't think play calling is the issue whatsoever, and it's not weapons either, because he's had OBJ for a short stint. He has an up and coming receiver in Donovan Peoples-Jones. He still has Jarvis Landry, and he's got possibly the best running back duo in the NFL. So to me, it sounds like wherever the word is coming from about Baker not happy with the play calling, it sounds like a lot of excuses if it is coming from Baker Mayfield, because
if it's
that's
coming
definitely
from
not
inside
the
the
issue.
building, or if it's coming just from, like Baker Mayfield said about the report itself, that it was clickbait. Not going to sit here and say it was or it wasn't. It might have been. It more than likely wasn't. But like you said, play calling can't be the issue. It can't be the offensive line either. The blame falls solely on Baker Mayfield for his form. And look, a lot of that probably has to do with the fact that his non-throwing shoulder has basically been half separated for the past 14 weeks. But Baker Mayfield, the only place he's going to be until April, whether he's traded or not, is at home with himself and Progressive.
And let's not, if it is, if the shoulder is that significant of an injury, then, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one, because, it's hard to play through an injury, such as being a quarterback with a shoulder injury. But he is the number 1 overall pick. He's got a lot of pressure on him, and to carry that organization that has been a dumpster fire for the past 20, 30 years. So
you think Browns fans aren't looking at that, laundry list of quarterbacks and saying, hey, look, we finally found a way to make it stop printing itself? And going, oh, God, here we go again.
And now, as soon as they get that quarterback, he wants to be traded, or he wants to request a trade. So I think if you're a Browns fan,
see, that's where the report gets me too.
It's very weird.
He's on the last year of his rookie deal, so if he wants out, do they let him walk? I don't know if they can franchise tag him at that point. I don't know. It's a weird situation. Let's move on. Josh, there have been people in and around you that have been known. I actually got a text from somebody the other day that lives down the street from you that said, I can hear fire Matt Rule chants from 4 houses down, and they're very loud and very aggressive. So we know how you feel on it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, most definitely, Brett. I mean, yeah, if you look, I remember watching the Hornets game a night or two ago to beat the Pistons by 30, and I'm watching the post-game show, and there are fans behind the hosts of the game show talking about chanting "Fire Matt Rule." And I believe the game before, there were some fans that actually had T-shirts that had the words "Fire Matt Rule" on their shirts. It was crazy.
I believe the Rockets game, there were a few people behind Ashley Samadi and Wes there that did have Fire Matt Rule shirts on.
Right. It's crazy to me that I've never seen a fan base this upset about a coach that they just hired, that was just hired 2 years ago and is still on a 7-year deal. And I never thought it would be the fan base that I consider myself to be a part of. And it's getting bad, and it's getting bad quickly. And this is going to be a very interesting offseason for the Carolina Panthers, to put it lightly.
Yeah, to put it mildly, and we'll bring Dez into this real quick. Dez, also being a Panthers fan, you've been very staunch from when we've talked and when I've seen you post about where you think the direction of this franchise is going, even before Cam came back.
Yeah, to an extent. Skylar Callahan, beat writer for the Panthers for Sports Illustrated, he's my podcast host for the Believe in Panther podcast, and he weekly walks me off the ledge from wanting to just leave Matt Rule at whatever city we were in at the airport, Antonio Brown style, and just come back to Charlotte. But
No, wait. That wouldn't involve like just taking your shirt and your pads off, trying to run into a police car, would it, by chance?
I don't know if I want to see Matt Rule do that, but yeah.
No.
I will say this though, for those, I understand the frustration of Panther fans right now. I really, really do, because this isn't really just a 2-year thing. This is really a 4-year thing. We haven't made the playoffs since Tepper bought the franchise 4 years ago. So this kind of leaks over to the last 2 years of Rivera, and now Rule is kind of getting those 2 years added on to the 2 he's had, which one was a COVID year where he couldn't even see his players until August. And then you have this year where you don't have McCaffrey for the majority of the year again. Your offensive line's a mess. You bring back a guy you let go in Cam Newton. I'm starting to get the feeling that Rule did not want him there to begin with to come back. So my question is, for those that want Matt Rule to leave, who are you going to replace him with?
Look, there's a lot of good candidates in my mind. A lot of them are currently being interviewed by the Jacksonville Jaguars.
I was going to say, I have one right now that the billionaire owner, David Tepper, could go and back up a Brinks truck to right now and probably go get. And it was the guy I wanted in the first place. He lives in Ann Arbor, and his name is Jim Harbaugh.
Interesting.
And all of a sudden,
interesting.
It's out there that he's interested in making it back to the NFL. So there you go.
Josh?
Listen, I'm not the type of guy to defame anybody, and I'm not, going to go on Twitter like some Panther fans out there that I know who are just going to rant all day about how much they hate Matt Rule and how much they think he should be fired. I'm not that type of person. But I will say this, if he doesn't get things turned around in year 3, and I do believe David Tepper is bringing him back for a 3rd year, there's nothing else you can say. I mean, I think 2 years for a new NFL coach, he's still kind of getting his foundation built for a team that, like you said, Desmond, offensively has not been great this season. Offensive line is going to be the number one priority, I believe, for this team going into the NFL draft. First 2 picks have to be offensive linemen. Have to be. Maybe you get a quarterback in there. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work, but
if you end up late top 10, mid first round, like it's looking, there's going to be 3 or 4 quarterbacks in that range of the first round. Sam Howell, Matt Corral, and 1 or 2 others are probably going to be in that range of the draft. So.
Right, and I think the way that Sam Howell played against the Gamecocks the other day, he could definitely be a late first rounder, early second rounder, and I think Malik Willis from Liberty also could be towards the late first round as well. But that, as much as I hate to say it, quarterback does not need to be the focus of this team right now. Unfortunately, I could even see the option of this team rolling with Sam Darnold for 1 more year, considering the fact that this offensive line. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be fixed immediately. That needs to be number 1 on the list. And again, we're paying Darnold $18.5 million next year. $18.5 million. Now, was that a great decision by Rule and Tepper to do? Absolutely not. We're seeing that. But if you can be patient 1 more year, possibly, and let Darnold prove himself in this next year with a better offensive line, at least 2, maybe 3 potential starters getting from the draft, I see that as an option as well. But yeah, I mean, Desmond, you've mentioned it. This offensively, this Panthers team has not been good, and this fan base is getting restless, and they're getting restless very quickly.
I think the frustration is palpable. And it almost doesn't matter who the head coach is right now, because the frustration is with the organization as a whole. I'm not saying Matt Rule has done a fantastic job, because he's done a terrible job, and the offense he was supposed to rewrite has become inept. So
Well, I'll say this, Brett. I mean, yeah, clearly 10 wins in the last 2 seasons doesn't look good for your resume. But again, has Rule had a consistent quarterback to play with? No. Sam Darnold has not been that guy. PJ Walker isn't that guy. Cam Newton is not that guy. I mean, he's getting up there in age. I don't think he's going to be around for much longer as it is. So, a consistent quarterback Matt Rule has not had on this team. A good offensive line also he has not had on this team. So part of me wonders if you add those two factors in either next season, maybe the season after, maybe things start to change for the better. So I agree with you in the sense that statistically this team with Matt Rule as head coach has not been great the last 2 seasons, but he hasn't had all the pieces that he needs. I just want to put that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Got to get in the break here. We'll get to what's sure to be a wild Week 18. We'll look at all that, lot of storylines to get to on the gridiron as well. You're listening to The Score on Tobacco Road Sports Radio. Stick around.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio's TGIF lineup.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
I ain't set this up. I ain't know nothing about this. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Damn it.
You're welcome. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Kim Source Direct is a single source supplier. In business since 2007, they have over 80,000 products for customers just like you. Located in the heart of North Carolina, they supply cleaning products all throughout the Southeast. Whether you're a commercial business, office, or municipal building, looking for wholesale cleaning products, chemicals, cleaning equipment, or service, they've got you covered. Please reach out and start saving money today. Stop by their store open to the public and save. Kim Source Direct, 1207 South Park Drive in Kernersville. Give them a call at 336-515-9990. Order from the website at kimsourcedirect.com.
The wait is over. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails is now open. 3050 University Parkway inside the Best Western Plus Hotel. Open 7 days a week starting at 11 a.m. daily. Freshly made Southern cuisine with signature cocktails and lunch specials daily. The location for your next event with Simply Sonia's catering specials. Open now. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails, 3050 University Parkway, inside the Best Western Plus Hotel in Winston-Salem.
Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza. Craving fried chicken? Stop by One Stop on the way to the big game. One Stop number 6, located at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville, serves fresh fried chicken and famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Craving wings? Come try the new spicy breaded wings. Get a 5-wing meal with 6 taters and a roll for just $7.39. Now in regular, hot, ranch, or spicy. One Stop number 6, 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. Looking to change things up a little? Visit Salon Resi. Located at 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy, Salon Resi is the newest high-end full-service salon and spa in the Triad. Salon Resi's spa includes massages and skincare. Get a full highlight treatment, shampoo and style, color and retouch, and much, much more. Salon Resi, where passion and creativity meet. 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy.
Father Time is undefeated. It's going to hit Tom Brady eventually, too. It might be this year. Hopefully it's this year.
And Matt LaFleur went to both of them and said, hey, remember that play you drew up on notebook paper on Thursday? Yeah, run it now.
Like, that's the thing that's kind of tripping me up here. We've been clowning Kyrie Irving and his behavior for the past 5 years. I feel like I just got a point, like on a show or something.
3, 2, 1, Kernersville, you've got state champions coming back home. The East Forsyth Eagles have just won Class 4A state championship.
On the line with NASCAR superstar Bubba Wallace. Bubba, what type of music are you listening to right now? Do you listen to anything particular to get you hyped before a race?
I'm in like the heavy metal stuff, like the screamo stuff, the stuff you can't understand. That's right up my alley.
Tie game at 41. Murr takes the snap. Fade. Right corner of the end zone for Timmons. He
Oh, my
bobbled it
God.
and then honed it in the right corner of the end zone. Darrell Timmons Jr.
TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports.
Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Enterprise Earth welcomes us back from break here on The Score with Brett Wiseman, joined alongside Alex Wober and Josh Scott. Yes, much like Bubba Wallace, I do enjoy the heavy metal and the screaming, but we've absented the vocals. You can save your eardrums because they're important in order to listen to what we have to say, because we're also very good at what we do. The first ever Week 18 in NFL history provides some, shall we say, unique scenarios. The most unique of which, I told you guys about this earlier in the week. We have a group chat. I told you guys about this earlier in the week. If by some miracle of the imagination, the dumpster fire that is the Jacksonville Jaguars beats the Indianapolis Colts, which it's worth noting, the Indianapolis Colts have not won in the city of Jacksonville since 2014. It has been 7 years since they beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. If the Jaguars, by some miracle, win that game, both the Raiders and the Chargers, which have been flexed to the Sunday Nighter because the expectation is that's a win in the end for whoever wins that game, if Jacksonville beats Indianapolis, both LA and Las Vegas would make the AFC playoffs with a tie. Yes. So theoretically, if Jacksonville beats Indianapolis, both the Chargers and Raiders could take knees for the entire game and both go to the playoffs. So I pose you this question. And, of course, none of us can come from the player's perspective because we've never got to that high a level. That's why we're sitting here doing this. Would you ever go into a game? I don't know that I would. I don't know that I've never seen it happen, therefore I don't think it's possible, mentally or to actually go out there and do it. Would you ever try to intentionally tie? And is that even a thing you can pull off?
Well, for one thing, head coach Brandon Staley already came out with a comment saying that they're going to try and win that game. Not exactly how the comment was stated, but basically said we're going to try and win. But to get back to your question, Brett, I mean, if both teams just kneel it out, I mean, I don't see a problem with it because if you come into that game and Jacksonville does win, you're the Raiders and you're the Chargers, you're thinking, come at midfield, hey, let's just kneel this one out. It's just a win-win scenario. Why? I mean, I understand the mentality, of we want to win every single game, but there doesn't have to be a loser in this matchup,
But again, this is all dependent upon the result of the Jacksonville-Indianapolis game. But while it's not impossible, it's also not likely. But it's fun for us to sit here and be like, hey, if this actually happens, Indianapolis can still lose the game, and then whoever wins that Raiders-Chargers game would then knock the opponent out, and Indianapolis would get that other spot. So, look, here's your Colts scenarios. Also, if you've been watching Hard Knocks in season, very good, by the way. I highly recommend go watch it. They should do that every year. They should have done it a long time ago. It's fantastic
Absolutely.
to do it in season. I enjoy it a lot more than I do the training camp stuff. But Indy wins, they're in. They tie, they're in. But that's also highly unlikely. If they lose, the Chargers have to lose, plus Baltimore and Pittsburgh have to tie. Or if they lose, LA loses, Pittsburgh's got to lose, and the Dolphins have to win. So there's also one seed things to look at here. The Bengals, of all people, have a shot at the number one seed. The only two things that have been decided, the only three things that have been decided in the AFC are the Bengals and the Titans have won their divisions. The Bills and the Patriots, the AFC East is still up for grabs. The AFC West is still, well, it's not up for grabs. The Chiefs have it. But there's a lot to be decided. The NFC East is still up for grabs. Pittsburgh's going to need a lot of help to get in. They've got to win. Indy's got to lose. And somebody has to lose between Vegas and the Chargers. That game cannot end in a tie. So here's your 1 seed clinching scenarios. For the Titans, they win, they have the 1 seed, period. It's a win and get the 1 seed scenario, just as Green Bay had it last week, who, by the way, we'll get to this later in the segment. They are starting every one of their first-teamers, both on offense and defense, in that game against Detroit. Matt LaFleur confirmed that today. We'll get to that in a second. Kansas City has to win. Tennessee has to lose for the Chiefs to get the 1 seed. We know how important that 1 seed is now, more so than it has been in past years, because there's only one first-round bye. New England will clinch the AFC's number 1 seed with a win, a Bills loss, a Kansas City loss, and a Titans loss, so they need a lot of help to get that done. More importantly, and I think the more possible thing here is, they win, and Buffalo loses or ties, they get the AFC East title. So from their perspective, Buffalo's got the Jets. So, and the Jets played Tampa Bay really tough last week. Made Antonio Brown quit football again. Somebody went and told me that Antonio Brown was so afraid of losing to the Jets, he just straight up quit mid-game. Like, he just rage quit. Like, I feel like it could have been one of those things in Madden. You're playing somebody online and Ultimate Team is like a 79 overall. You're like, I got this. Like, I have an 88 overall team. I'm good. And he's blasting you 48-0 by halftime. You're throwing your controller through the wall because you're losing to a team you should be kicking the crap out of. No, that's not actually what happened, but it's fun to consider.
Antonio Brown needs to be, like, done with no team should touch Antonio Brown. There should be some sort of cohesive, I don't want to say blackballing, but we've seen it happen in the NFL to certain players. Colin Kaepernick. So we know that it's possible that these teams can collude to not sign a player. The problem here is the problem that every talented player runs across that's got some trouble within them, and that's if you're still able to contribute to a team to help them win, they will look the other way until they can't. And that's literally what Tampa just did. Like,
that is the definition of what just happened.
He stripped down half butt naked and did jumping jacks across the Jets end zone while the game is going on.
And while he's not the first person in MetLife Stadium to have jumping jacked half naked across the end zone, he's the first person that's actually been in the game to do it.
He's the first active NFL player to do it while the Tampa Bay offense is on the field. Like, down at the other end of the field, they're like, what is going on? Like, and then I'm seeing this stuff about him, the whole thing. I had MRI on my ankle, blah, blah, blah. Bruh, I just watched Antonio Brown shred my Carolina Panthers the week before, like 11 days.
He didn't even look like his ankle had a nick on it.
10 catches, over 100 yards. Like, he destroyed us. And, like, they asked him about the ankle after the game. He said, nah, that's just a concoction the media made up to make it look worse than it is. I'm supposed to believe this dude on his medical stuff. He just got suspended for 3 weeks for lying on medical
faking a
form?
vaccine card.
Sorry,
Which is a felony, by the way.
I'm going to save it for Saturday morning rundown, Saturday morning, 10 o'clock on tobacco.roadsportsradio.com. But I was going to save it, but I can't save it anymore. I'm sorry. This Antonio Brown thing's really got me bothered.
The steam is coming out of Desmond Johnson's ears. I mean, it is just exploding.
He shouldn't even be a topic anymore. This should have ended after the Raiders.
If I may add about Antonio Brown, hear me out. We all are thinking the same thing that Desmond just said. But do we give him the Josh Gordon treatment where he's been in the league, he has the talent?
I don't know that this is the same situation.
It's by far not the same situation, but those are two players, maybe Josh Gordon a little less, but two players that are still able to play, that have gone through chance after chance after chance. do we still give Antonio Brown the benefit of the doubt because he still is able to contribute to a team?
I mean, this is the sad thing about it. You could make an argument that Antonio Brown is the number 3 wide receiver of all time. That's the sad thing about all of it. If you go look at his stats, like he's done things that no other wide receiver has ever done, but all of it's going to be forgotten because of all the stuff he's done off the field. And he's not helping when he does stuff like I don't even know the stuff that he posted, the messages with him and Bruce Arians. I don't even know if that's Bruce Arians. You know what I mean? Like
there's no way for us to know.
We don't know. We have
There's no way
idea
for us to confirm nor deny that.
Yeah, and then Tampa just like, well, you know what? We're just going to cut him. And like Tampa was trying to get him his money. He wouldn't go to the thing to get checked out by them so they could pay him to not play. Like, what's going on?
He was what, like 8 or 9 catches away from
5 catches.
5.
Yeah, 5 catches away from a bonus, or like 2 touchdowns away from another bonus. Like this
which he would have gotten. He would have gotten if he hadn't been suspended for 3 games for faking a vaccination card. He would have got it 2 weeks ago. You know what I mean? Like all of this is on him. He is doing all of it, and I still see people defending him, and I'm just like, why? Why are we defending this dude?
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I'm defending him at all because I'm in agreement with you guys. No. But he just, and I've seen this the tweets, the stories. Is it CTE, mental health? You know, I just think the guy's a nut job.
At this point, look, and I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that mental health / Vontaze Burfict cause CTE could be the problem. Because Des, you made this point to somebody the other day on Facebook that it's almost like everything's been different for him mentally since the incident with Vontaze Burfict.
Yeah, I mean, you never heard anything about Antonio Brown off the field until after that hit. And then after that hit, what was the first thing? It was him videotaping inside the Steelers locker room after a win or whatnot, something you're just not supposed to do. And for some reason he was doing it. That kind of snowballed to the point where if Mike Tomlin has gotten to the point where he's just done with you, for starters, Mike Tomlin may have done one of the greatest coaching jobs of all time, because if Antonio Brown was like this before the Burfict hit, we never heard anything about it. That's a testament to Mike Tomlin, because that's like 8 years where we didn't hear anything, you know? Yeah. And then all of a sudden it just started bubbling over. And once he got out of that Steeler umbrella and ended up with with the Patriots and the Raiders, and now with Tampa, and now
he was with the Raiders for about as long as Chris Humphries was married to the Kardashian, but
training camp. I mean, about
so yeah, about 65 days.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, about 2 months. Had enough time to get frostburn on the bottom of his feet and complain about a helmet that he didn't want to wear. Cussed out the GM, like on the field in front of the team. It's like, what are we doing?
You know where he's heading? An MTV reality show.
Oh, and to add to that, Brett, to make it even the moment of this last Sunday's game even better, Antonio Brown, you would think after an event like that, gonna probably go on some sort of show for an interview, or he's gonna get his part of the story out. He did it on Twitter. You think at ESPN, maybe I don't know, any other podcast. He goes on the Nelk Boys podcast.
How about Dr. Phil? How about Maury?
Yeah.
How about one of those? Yeah.
he goes on the Nelk Boys podcast. First thing he says, or first part of the clip that I saw, he thought about mooning the crowd.
What?
a part of his fiasco in the end zone.
The best part about it was security was going to tackle him because they thought he was a shrieker. They thought he was a fan.
Yeah, they mistaken him when he was coming through the tunnel. Like, who are you? Oh, that's Antonio Brown. What are you doing? Where's your shirt? It's just ridiculous. It's crazy to me. I don't understand it. I really don't. I really don't understand it.
Well, the only other place people were shirtless and on the field was Lambeau last Sunday night, where, by the way, it was a balmy 0 degrees. But Green Bay in a dome is going to play their starter Sunday. They have nothing to play for. We all know I'm a Packers fan. Am I a fan of this? Yes and no. Do I agree with Matt LaFleur's sentiment that I don't want any of my guys getting essentially a 3-week layoff? Yes, because this is not the preseason. But you essentially have to treat this like a preseason game. At the very least, get them reps and then get them the heck out of there so Aaron's toe doesn't explode, so Devontae Adams doesn't magically pull a hamstring on field turf. Nobody has a non-contact injury in a dome. We know that can happen more in domes and on turf than other places. I'm all for getting them reps, but especially when David Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander are like this close to coming back, you can't risk anything right now. And I'm all for them starting. I'm not for them playing the entire game. If they play beyond halftime, I might drive to Green Bay because I do own stock. So I have some sort of a say.
We've got a little bit of a little skin in the game.
Yeah, I mean, they send me mail and stuff. It's, but I get letters in the mail. It's fine. None of your NFL teams send you any mail.
Did they send you like a fancy medallion or something?
I do have a plaque.
And...
Yeah, I do have a plaque. It's displayed very prominently in my brand new apartment, by the way. As soon as you come in the door, it says, hey, the person who lives here is an NFL owner.
God.
I don't know what to do with that.
No one does. Every time I bring this up, everybody calls me an idiot. But
I'm on the same page with you, though, Brett, with the amount of play time that the starters should see for Green Bay. I think, anywhere past halftime, third quarter is alarming because you get these guys back like David Bakhtiari and Jair Alexander. If you're winning, you can take them out. And if you're losing, you can take them out. And nobody, especially if you're a Packers fan, Brad, I'm sure you would like to see Jordan Love get a few more reps against NFL caliber teams.
Heck, I'd like to see Kurt Benkert play just because I love the guy. But a very entertaining follow on Twitter. Speaking of, before we go to break, my tweet of the week, we'll get to it in a little bit. The writer from Chicago that said all that about Aaron Rodgers came out with a statement the other day saying he made a terrible mistake. Our tweet of the week comes from Ryan Schoberg, who turned half of that quote into, I made a terrible mistake Tuesday with my Aaron Rodgers comments. It was completely my fault as there's a deep drive into left field by Castellanos, and that'll be a home run, and so that'll make it a 4-0 ball game. So if anything, the man Aaron Rodgers called a bum did a very good job channeling his inner Tom Brenneman. When we come back, guess where we're going next? We're staying here at Tobacco Roast. Tobacco Road Roundup. Steve Wiseman joins us right after this.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
The wait is over. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails is now open. 3050 University Parkway inside the Best Western Plus Hotel. Open 7 days a week starting at 11 a.m. daily. Freshly made Southern cuisine with signature cocktails and lunch specials daily. The location for your next event with Simply Sonia's catering specials. Open now. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails. 3050 University Parkway inside the Best Western Plus Hotel in Winston-Salem.
You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio, your home for Triad Sports.
And you know this, man.
Purchase your tickets now for the 2022 Softball Expo, January 14th and 15th at the Park Expo and Conference Center in Charlotte at Liberty Hall. Nationally known speakers from around the country include CJ Beatty, Tony Medina, Matt Lisley, and more. Vendors with the latest softball equipment, uniforms, tournaments, and technology. Coaches Clinic on Friday for travel and high school coaches, autograph sessions, raffles for free equipment, and much more. Players wear your team jersey on Saturday and get in free. For more information, visit DiamondStarEvents.net. Looking to change things up a little? Visit Salon Resi. Located at 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy, Salon Resi is the newest high-end full-service salon and spa in the Triad. Salon Resi Spa includes massages and skincare. Get a full highlight treatment, shampoo and style, color and retouch, and much, much more. Salon Resi, where passion and creativity meet. 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
Father Time is undefeated. It's going to hit Tom Brady eventually, too. It might be this year. Hopefully it's this year.
And Matt LaFleur went to both of them and said, hey, remember that play you drew up on notebook paper on Thursday? Yeah, run it now.
Like, that's the thing that's kind of tripping me up here. We've been clowning Kyrie Irving and his behavior for the past 5 years. I feel like I just got a point, like on a show or something.
3, 2, 1, Kerrsville. You've got state champions coming back home. The East Forsyth Eagles have just won Class 4A state championship.
On the line with NASCAR superstar Bubba Wallace. Bubba, what type of music are you listening to right now? Do you listen to anything particular to get you hyped before a race?
I'm in like the heavy metal stuff, like the screamo stuff, and stuff you can't understand. That's right up my alley.
Tie game at 41. Murr takes the snap. Fade. Right corner of the end zone for Timmons. He bobbled it and then hauled it in the right corner of the end zone. Terrell Timmons Jr.
TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com, your home for Triad Sports.
One Stop Number 6, located at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville, serving fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's the holidays, and what better way to feed your parties and gatherings than One Stop Chicken? Get the whole thing. Feeds 8 people. 16 pieces of chicken, 30 taters, 8 rolls, and 8 sides of coleslaw or potato salad for only $34.79. Come see us at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. That's One Stop Number 6. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza. Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Like Moths to Flames welcomes us back to The Score this afternoon here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. And pleased to be joined by Durham Herald Sun writer Steve Wiseman this afternoon, the man, the myth, the legend, my uncle, if you didn't catch that already by the last name. If you've listened to us before, you probably know who he is too. But if you live in this state, you also very likely know who he is. The man when it comes to Duke hoops, but not only Duke, but also the ACC. Duke, which sits third in the ACC standings, currently behind Louisville and a very, very surprising 4-0 Miami team. Granted, all their ACC games have been at home, but when you look at the grand scheme of things, especially when you look at the top 25, Steve, Duke is really the cream of the crop here for the ACC, and that's not something we say very often, that there's one team that's, the cream of the crop. Normally it's, at least 3 or 4, in fact, a handful.
Yeah, as recently as, 3 years ago, the 2019 NCAA tournament, the ACC produced 3 number 1 seeds, Duke, Carolina, and Virginia won the national championship. So that's what we're used to in the ACC. But it's been a few years since the ACC's done that, and this is another year like that. The conference seems to be in a little bit of a rut, similar to earlier, last decade from 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. That was 4 years in a row that the ACC did not have a Final Four team, which is, as long a stretch as you'll see. And so here we are again. It looks like, the only hope this year is Duke. You mentioned Louisville and Miami, both 4-0 in the conference. Surprise for Miami. They've played all their games at home, you mentioned. So they come to Cameron Saturday night, and that'll be their first real test of conference play. And we'll see what they're all about there. But the problem is that the brand names outside of Duke are not producing this year like they normally are. Virginia, Carolina, I mentioned them. Syracuse is sitting at 7-7 overall right now. Even Florida State, which in the past 5-6 years here has become a regular at the top of the standings, is sitting here at 7-5 and coming off a pretty lopsided loss to Wake Forest earlier this week. So that's what's going on in the league right now. Kind of waiting for somebody else to jump up and join Duke.
It's when you look at where the standings are right now, the only 2 teams I could really see that could jump back into this are maybe a Notre Dame and maybe a Wake Forest. But I mean, Wake Forest is 7th in the ACC standings right now, but only because they are 2-2 in the ACC. They had that tough loss against Louisville last week, but you mentioned it, the blowout win over Florida State. This is a Wake Forest team that gives Steve Forbes a lot of credit. He used the transfer portal masterfully and basically patchworked together a roster that, you know, at various points of the non-conference play, I thought should have at least gotten votes in the AP poll because they were playing that well. And there's a lot of seasoned graduate veterans in that group, which is why I think there's the potential there for them to make a jump. Not necessarily past a North Carolina or a Virginia or a Duke, but at least into the top 4 or 5 of the ACC before the tournament.
Oh, I clearly think so. I think what he's done, you mentioned masterful. That's a great word for it. He's attacked it, roster building like a modern college coach should. The transfer portal is the biggest way to do it, the fastest way to turn it around now. There's no more sitting out a year. It's like free agency in pro sports. You can turn your season around, turn your team around very quickly. And props to him for doing it. He's been great about that, and it's nice to see, frankly, right? It's nice to see energy pumped back into the Wake Forest basketball program, which there hasn't been a lot of that, in the last really 10 years. I
don't think I've seen the Joel as alive as I did for a couple of those home games, the Northwestern games, specifically in the ACC Big Ten Challenge, in at least 5 years.
Yeah.
Since they made the tournament in 16 with the Bryant Crawfords of the world.
Right.
But this is a team that, you might not know a lot of the names because they've come from all corners of the country, but Steve Forbes is amongst everything else, or above everything else, I should say. Steve Forbes is a master motivator. He turned a program in East Tennessee State into a consistent winner in the Southern Conference, to where there were 2 or 3 years there where if you were a Davidson, a Chattanooga, if you got to ETSU, you basically knew you were done.
Right.
And same thing happened with Winthrop in the Big South. These mid-major coaches are able to take their programs to these heights, not because they're necessarily masterful recruiters or they use the portal so well, which wasn't there for Steve Forbes when he started at ETSU. But look at UNC Wilmington with Kevin Keats. Kevin Keats has a job at NC State because of the job he did at UNC Wilmington. And it's not recruiting. It's mentality. It's the motivation factors. It's the sheer coaching talent that a guy like Steve Forbes has to bring all these guys in from all areas of the country, patchwork them together. And not only is this team playing well, they're playing together.
Right, which, who knew if that was going to happen going into the year, right? I mean, you knew they had all these players, and he has got them to play as a cohesive unit, which I can tell you firsthand is a challenge every year that Coach K, since they've gone to the, basically the one and done model for the last 8-9 years here, is a annual challenge for them. And they've taken different approaches to it every year, almost trying to get the most out of what they got for the 1 year. And he's been Steve Forbes has been able to do it, very quickly with veteran players that came from other schools, but yet they learn other systems, but they come in here and they know what they're doing. He gets it. He gets the social media part of things. You talk about the motivation. He can market. He's very very open in that way. Just a breath of fresh air for Wake Forest and for the ACC. And yeah, I mean they're in a position to where they're going to be up, competing for a double bye this year, because frankly there's a lot of wins to be had in the ACC this year that normally aren't there to be had. Right, somebody can move up very quickly, and Wake can be up there, third, 6th, 5th, 4th, maybe even 3rd of it. If things turn out right. I don't see him, beating Duke for the championship by any stretch on the conference season, but they're right there. They should be able to do this year.
And let's stay on Duke for a second. I agree with everything you just said right there about Wake Forest. I think, they're going from you almost assumed they'd play on Tuesday to they're going to get a double bye. which is a complete flip of the script from the past couple of years. Let's stay on Duke, though. We mentioned Miami has not played any true road games as far as conference goes. They've only played 2 road games, period, the entire season. They've played 4 games neutral site, 9 games total at home. 4 of those 9 home games have been in ACC play. So they've only had 2 true road games. They've won both of them, but they were on the road against in-state opponents that they had a contract with 6 years ago. They knew were coming and weren't necessarily, difficult road games. This would be the
Florida
toughest
Atlantic,
game.
right? Florida Atlantic's
yeah.
one of them.
Yeah, this will be the toughest game they've had all year. Not even close.
That's right. And the other game they went on the road and beat Penn State in the Big Ten ACC, which was a contracted thing, which is frankly the only reason why Duke played a road game at Ohio State was because they were contracted to do it by ESPN for that event. So anyway, this is a good chance. Again, Jim Larinaga is a veteran coach, well respected. Before he did George Mason, took them to the Final Four. He's won an ACC championship at Miami. He's had them in the Sweet 16 a couple of times, so he knows what he's doing. And he's got this team on a roll right now. They've won 8 games in a row. And but again, they haven't faced a team like Duke, and that's why if you look at Ken Palm, like Miami's number 91 in the country. So they haven't been tested like they have. They haven't played that kind of schedule yet. Now they're getting ready to really. Their conference schedule is a little bit backloaded. They're going to play, they got Duke and they got some tough games coming up here that, it's going to work its way out. But they play at a quick pace. We saw the other night, I think they were down 18 points to Syracuse at home, and they rallied and won that game. They wore down Syracuse and won that game. So
they stormed back in a hurry, and that's, Duke loves to play fast too. So it's almost going to be, in this case, it's going to be a war of attrition.
It is, and I filed a story a few hours ago that's up on our website, newsobserver.com, to give that a little quick plug. But talking about this very thing, that Duke is not 100%, right? They're coming off COVID. They played a slow-paced Georgia Tech team the other night and won it with their defense, which was great because their offense was terrible because their shooting was terrible. They're going to have to speed it up a little bit. They like to run, and that's been when they've been at their best. But they don't have their wind right now like they have been because they had that little pause. So they're going to be challenged a little bit, and they're going to have to go a little deeper, I think, in their bench to keep everybody fresh. They can't have 4 starters playing 35 minutes like they did against Georgia Tech.
Yeah, there can't be a situation like South Alabama was last night against Appalachian State, and where clearly they're a top 2-3 team in that conference, and they played with 7 guys and lost by 20 points to Appalachian State. So especially in this scenario, you do not want to be shorthanded in the slightest. But let's talk about Duke's mindset here. As they've only played 2 conference games. Both of them have been at home. When you play as tough a non-conference schedule as they did, even against the mid-major teams, Appalachian State gave them a big challenge. They had some pretty close games against some lesser opponents. Outside of that game, you beat Gonzaga. You beat a team that was in the national championship game a year ago. Yeah, you lost to Ohio State, but that was a true road game, a true road test in a hostile environment. When you talk about where the ACC stands currently, Duke's mentality, I think, has to be, we are the best team in the ACC. We just haven't had a chance to show it yet because we've had a couple games pushed back.
That's right. They were supposed to play road games last week at Clemson and Notre Dame, and because of the COVID issues, those got postponed. They'll have to make them up later. So, yeah, they haven't been – they missed out on those opportunities to go on the road and stake their claim that way. But, yeah, they do have that mentality that they're the best team in this league, and it's something they try to carry into every season, obviously. But this year it's really shown to be true when they're the only top 25 team by far. Nobody's even close to getting into the top 25 yet, besides them. And then you look at the other metrics. There's nobody else in the top 30 of Ken Palm besides Duke. I think Virginia Tech was. Now they're 0-3 in conference. They've kind of dropped down a little bit. So, they're head and shoulders above everybody. And Duke hasn't won a regular season championship since 2010 in the ACC. So if it's ever going to happen, and obviously this is the last year for Coach K, it has to happen this year, or else something's gone really haywire.
Yeah, this would be the year to do it. If there was any year to pull it off, this would be it. And I asked you about this a couple of months ago when the season started. Is that a priority for this team mentally to go into this season feeling like they have to win for Coach K? But I almost feel like that's assumed at this point, that they know if they go out and play their best basketball, that's going to be the result.
Yeah, they've shown that their best will be better than anybody else in the conference, because that win over Gonzaga, we saw that, right? We saw them beat Kentucky up in New York that way. Gonzaga's the best win, no doubt about that. But even, the second half against Virginia Tech, they were trailing at halftime of that game, and they came out and just ran them off the court and ended up winning by 11 that game. So they've shown they can win in different ways with different kinds of lineups, big and small, and good ball handling lineups and that kind of thing. So they have the versatility and the depth when they get back to 100% to be better than anybody else in this conference. It's not even close.
Good that you brought up versatility really quickly, because I wanted to ask you about Paolo Banchero and what you've seen with him in terms of how his game has evolved since the beginning of the year. It seems like he's stepping outside and shooting a lot more, maybe more than he should be, but he seems like he's mixing things up a lot and doing so well, and that's presenting a lot of, odd looks for opposing defenses, to where at times he just becomes, to use the term, he becomes a unicorn. He becomes unguardable because he can do everything.
Exactly, and they've done that. They've put him in positions to be that way, because sometimes I'll have him at the 5. They did it against Georgia Tech the other night, and Virginia Tech the second half, where they put Mark Williams and Theo John on the bench, have Banchero play the 5, bring in A.J. Griffin off the bench, 6'7" freshman, to kind of play the 4, and then you've got Wendell Moore and Keels and Roach. So that puts Banchero in odd matchups with the opposing big man, and it makes him really unguardable a lot of times. And also you mentioned he's got that step back 3-pointer, kind of that NBA move we've seen him pull off. Did it very well against Gonzaga, but like the other night, the team wasn't shooting very well, and he wasn't shooting very well because they didn't have their legs. So in the second half, he started driving a little bit more, getting in the lane and scoring that way. So that's how he's starting to grow. He's realizing, okay, this shot isn't here tonight. I got to try and find some other way to score. And so that's a maturity and a mentality that kind of happens as the season goes on, and we're starting to see that from him.
And that is 100% the biggest thing I've noticed in terms of his maturation, is that he's noticing when that shot isn't there, he knows he has to drive. He has to attack the basket, and then he can do so at will, because he's built differently than a lot of other guys are out there. And I think from Duke's perspective as well, they feel like they have the depth also to make a run.
Definitely. And A.J. Griffin's a big part of that. He's come a long way since the start of the year. When he missed time in October with a sprained knee, and took him a little bit to get going, but now he's a consistent double-figure scorer off the bench, which how many teams have that going, right? And you can also use him, and then you get your 2 bigs with Williams and Theo John. You can flip-flop to keep them fresh when you want to use them. They have a big lineup. They have what they call a good ball-handling lineup. We need a different name for that, something catchier, but they can throw different looks at people and on different nights and make them hard to prepare for.
100% agree. Got to get in the break here, Steve. Thanks so much for coming on this afternoon. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, glad to be with you on this maiden voyage of this one.
It is the maiden voyage. That's well put. This is why you come up with the better words and not me, because you're the better writer. When we come back, we'll dive into Alabama, Georgia, and I'll wear my L's from my predictions of the semifinals after this.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
The wait is over. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails is now open. 3050 University Parkway inside the Best Western Plus Hotel. Open 7 days a week starting at 11 a.m. daily. Freshly made Southern cuisine with signature cocktails and lunch specials daily. The location for your next event with Simply Sonia's catering specials. Open now. Simply Sonia's Southern Cuisine and Cocktails, 3050 University Parkway, inside the Best Western Plus Hotel in Winston-Salem.
Kim Source Direct is a single source supplier. In business since 2007, they have over 80,000 products for customers just like you. Located in the heart of North Carolina, they supply cleaning products all throughout the Southeast. Whether you're a commercial business, office, or municipal building looking for wholesale cleaning products, chemicals, cleaning equipment, or service, they've got you covered. Please reach out and start saving money today. Stop by their store open to the public and save. Kim Source Direct, 1207 South Park Drive in Kernersville. Give them a call at 336-515-9990. Order from the website at kimsourcedirect.com.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
We love sports.
Joe Louis, the greatest boxer ever lived.
Not only do we love sports, but we love to debate sports.
He was bad in Captain Clay. He bad in Sugar Ray. He bad in that. Who that? The new boy has Mike Tyson. Look like a bulldog. He bad at him too. He done whipped Mike Tyson there. He whipped all their ass.
For the best sports analysis in the Triad.
What about Rocky Marciano?
In-depth local coverage of your favorite schools and teams.
Let me tell you something. One fall, Rocky Marciano was good, but compared to Joe Louis, Rocky Marciano ain't.
And of course, the best sports debate in the Triad.
Beat Joe Louis's ass.
Welcome to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Joe Louis was 75 years old when he fought.
You're welcome.
I don't know how old he was. They got it at.
This is Donald Ware, host of Box to Row. Happy 2022. We're talking the late and legendary Sam Jones, NFL and college football playoff, all of that right here on Box to Row.
From press box to press row with Donald Ware, Saturdays at 9 a.m. on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
My favorite band in the world, August Burns Red, brings us back here from break. Here on The Score with Brett Wiseman on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Brett Wiseman joined by Desmond Johnson. And before we get into what's sure to be a great national championship game coming up on Monday night, I have to wear my L's from my semifinal predictions. I said Michigan would not only win, but would win by 10 and hold Georgia to 7 points. Because my mind, I hadn't seen Georgia play that well offensively until New Year's Eve. I was proven wrong. I'd said Alabama would win. I also said Cincinnati would cover. That's not as big as an L as the one I took in the 2-3 matchup. And Des, I'll pose you the question that a lot of people have been throwing around lately is, okay, we get why we're asking for expansion, but when we see the results of these semifinals, like year after year, be consistently double-digit 2-3 touchdown, sometimes even 4-score victories, does expanding the playoff make those games more competitive? I don't think it does. I think what makes everything leading up to it more competitive, I don't think it would inherently make every one of the semifinals or even the quarterfinals, if you expanded it that far out, more competitive.
I think we've gotten to a point where Alabama may be, in fact, ruining college football. And by that, I mean, it's almost like they've broken the code for what to do to get to the national championship game. Because they do it.
It's almost like that. Remember when you would go to your book fair in elementary school and you'd have this like book of cheat codes for all those PS2 games? You don't, I do.
Well,
it's almost like
Ours was Nintendo, like old school NES.
Yeah, you would go buy a book that had like all these cheat codes you would enter in for games to beat. And
well,
it's
Nick
almost like
Saban wrote this book.
Nick Saban literally authored the college football playoff cheat code book.
I mean, they're the only team in the country I can think of that pretty much is assumed can get into the national championship or at least the college football playoff and not even win their division. Like, I can't even think of another team, maybe Ohio State, but even that, like that, Alabama's the only one I can think of in the whole country where they're propped so high at the beginning of each year.
They don't even have to play in the SEC championship game to get there.
I mean, this is the second time now where they'll be playing a national championship game, and they weren't. This year they did, but LSU a couple years back was like that, where basically LSU was forced to have to beat Alabama twice in order to win the national championship after beating them the first time. And I don't know, there's something. I don't think that they need to expand so much the playoffs, although that'd be more fun for fans like us.
Right.
In the end, it would just be Alabama versus somebody anyway. So it's like, I think the only thing that's going to slow Alabama down, to be perfectly honest, is the transfer portal. Yep. If the transfer portal stays the way they have it right now, which I don't think it can, to be honest, it's just like
there's got to be changes because you can't have Spencer Rattler transfer because Caleb Williams has the job, and then Caleb Williams is like, oh, I might transfer, but also I might stay here. I don't know yet.
And there's nothing stopping them from leaving. Like,
no, there's
no mechanism whatsoever.
Exactly.
That in the end is gonna not only college football but college basketball too, where it's the mentality of to me it's like we're saying it's okay for you to quit. If you quit, it's okay. We got an avenue for you to go someplace else and get those minutes that maybe you didn't deserve.
It's free agency, but it's like free agency on steroids.
Yeah, it's like worse than free agency.
Because you can drop in the middle of the season and then go play somewhere else. You don't have to, be waived or something like that. You have the opportunity to, straight up quit mid-game and basically waive yourself.
I think what they should do, the NCAA, they should add an addendum to this rule where you have to play 3 years of college sports in order to be eligible to transfer to wherever you want. Like, they need to put that back in or something where, and then you at least need to play wherever.
You at least need to play 2 or 3. I would lean towards 3, but you can't play 6 games at, Clemson and be behind, be a 4-star and expect to go there, play 6 games, be behind 3 5-star guys in your position group, be like, oh, I'm not getting the reps that I thought I was going to get. I'm now going to transfer to Eastern Washington or Charlotte. You can't just go transfer to somewhere else that's going to play you mid-season.
Right down the road from us, Wake Forest, they're dealing with it in their running backs room. 2 running backs that I'm pretty familiar with, having being close to East Forsyth. It's 2 former East Forsyth running backs, Amani Marshall and Christian Bill Smith. Amani Marshall announced he was transferring at the beginning of last week. He would be going into sophomore year, if I'm not mistaken. Christian Bill Smith is a different situation. He walked. He graduated. He has a year left of graduate year left with COVID and everything else. And with a crowded room, decided to go someplace else. I don't knock that at all. With Amani, he immediately went to App State. So, it's
of course, I'm not upset with.
Yeah, you're not going to be mad about that at all. And Amani's a great running back. It's just a crowded room. And with the COVID extra year added on at a place like Wake Forest, where you got dudes that were there 5-6 years already. Now you're adding in an extra COVID, eligibility year. Now you've got super seniors, which is why Wake was so good this year. They've got dudes out there that are 25 years old.
Sam Hartman still has another year, and Sam Hartman was starting games 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Before I graduated high school.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Sam decided to go ahead and go pro. Like, he could at this point. But then again,
very well
Wake could win the ACC next year. It's just, they've got so much coming back, and it's all experience. They're almost like in between college and pro team where, like, I don't know, like their age level is like mid-20s, but they're like juniors in college.
Let's put it this way. They're an entire team of Hunter Renfrows,
in
which they all seem like they've been there forever, but they still find a way to win.
But in today's world, the older teams are going to be the teams that win in college basketball and college football, where the paradigm has shifted. For about a decade, we got used to in college basketball looking at the Kentuckys, the Dukes, the Kansases, of the world that were bringing in these top 10 freshmen and were being ranked number 1, number 2, number 3 all year long. They wouldn't win the national championship, but they were the better teams. Now you're going to see the teams that are older. They're going to, I mean, look at Kentucky right now in basketball. They're an older team, but they're better than they were, last year before. The teams that are at the top right now, Baylor, UCLA, those type of teams, they're all older. These teams are in the national championship game on Monday. Georgia and Alabama, they're older teams. So, I mean,
the Villanovas, the Seton Halls of the world, pretty much the entire Big East is all. There's no young talent in the Big East, so to speak.
Right.
The Baylors and UCLA's, like you said, and in college football too. I don't think Cincinnati had a guy, that was even a junior. That was a key part of what they did all year, and that brings me back to the original point of this is. I don't think it matters who Alabama would play in that semifinal. We said it. They've got the book. They could have played. They could have gone in the NCAA 14 and played a classic team.
Alabama.
Yeah, they could have played an older Alabama team. They could have played Tennessee with Peyton Manning and probably still found a way to win. You could put them on.
You give Nick Saban 2 weeks. He's going to be pretty schemed up for whoever.
He's going to find a way. He's going to find the loophole. And
the only team that kind of outdid him on that would be Dabo and Clemson a couple of years. And that was just a matter of Clemson just had more talent for some reason on their side of the ball that night. But even that, we're seeing Clemson. People talking about Clemson falling off. They were a 10-win team. They lost 3 games this year, and one of them was to Georgia that's in this national championship game. So I mean,
that was a marquee game that turned out to be a lot closer than it should have. But the statement was made that night.
Yeah, week 1.
That Georgia's defense was next level. But like you said, if you give Nick Saban 2 weeks, but let alone the time he had to get ready for the SEC championship game and dismantle what we all thought was the best defense in a generation and still is, to do what they did to Michigan. Nick Saban's got to have the book on this Georgia defense, but on the flip side of things, the Georgia defense has a lot of tape to watch as to what they did wrong.
So who are you picking?
I'm almost hesitant to after what happened last time.
You don't want to do that broadcaster curse?
No. Well, I had to brand a giant L on my chest after I said Georgia would only score 7 points.
Oh Lord, no! I thought Michigan was going to win that game, but I didn't say that they would hold them to 7 points. I wasn't that confident.
I was of the opinion that I had not seen Georgia play good offense the entire year, outside of against Vanderbilt and Tennessee and Samford and Little Sisters of the Poor. I hadn't seen them play good offensively. They sure did.
I don't trust Georgia.
See, that's the thing for me, because we see all this, and then they go up against Alabama in the SEC championship game, and they lay an egg.
Yeah,
I don't know that we can trust anybody other than Alabama right now, and it irks me to say that.
That makes me bored with college football.
Exactly.
If I know week 1, that by the time we get to the end of this, it's going to be Alabama versus someone, and now that someone, it's like a handful of like 3 teams, like feasibly. Like Michigan was a pleasant surprise in the college football playoff, but I think everyone was kind of thinking we're probably going to get Alabama, Georgia, and it felt like half the country didn't want it because we just saw it like a couple weeks ago. So there's nothing to make us think that it's going to be anything different. But going back to your original question about expansion, I wouldn't mind it, but if they did it, I'd want it to be done the way Division II is done, where it's like 16 teams and the higher seed host and that thing and that kind of way. And then, eventually you get to the Rose Bowl and, the semifinals or whatever. That could be fun. And maybe something like that would be the thing that, gets Alabama knocked out of there because they're having to play, 4 games instead of 2. And who knows, maybe they run across I don't know who would have been in the top 10 this year that I would have been like, they might give Alabama some trouble. Like Georgia's offense doesn't really scare, like their quarterback situation doesn't really scare anybody. And I can't think of a team where I other than Clemson, but not this year, like a program where I could be like, if it's Alabama, Clemson in the semifinal, I'm like, oh, you know what? Clemson might be able to pull that off because I've seen them do it.
Right.
None of these other teams have done it. So it's like, what are we doing? I'm not even sure if I'm going to watch the college football national championship. I feel like
watch.
Win.
I don't know if I'm going to be entertained for that long, but I'm going to watch.
Like, do you think they have any chance of winning?
I think Georgia has an outside chance, but this is Alabama we're talking about, especially after what they did the last time. I don't trust Georgia. I don't trust Georgia to fix what they did wrong. I trust Alabama to find more loopholes.
I mean, how many rings does Nick Saban have at this point? Is it 7? 8?
I think it is. 7? I think it's about to be 8.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I don't know what they can do to figure. I mean, they may very well expand because these other conferences are going to ask for them to, but because they want extra shots to try to beat Alabama. But
right.
The one thing that always bothers me is that when people start chanting SEC or any of that garbage, the SEC was horrible in bowl season this year. If it wasn't for Alabama at the very top, I don't even know I could say the SEC is the second best conference in college football. You know, it's always Alabama and somebody. But then once you get out of the top, it's Vanderbilt and, it's garbage at the very, very bottom usually. And they end up eating each other. So I don't have an answer for how to fix this, but I'm sure these other conferences are looking around like, hell, Oklahoma and Texas are about to go into the SEC. And I don't know if that's going to weaken Alabama one bit.
Why do you think the Big 12 added all those people? But yeah, I mean, the only thing that can slow Alabama down is... Sorry, I can't think of one. Nothing's slowing them down. I tried, trust me.
Like a hurricane or something. Like I don't know.
Half the campus gets taken out by a natural disaster. I don't know.
COVID. I mean, that's probably even COVID. They've kind of gotten through that too. So notice that none of the college football playoff teams had any issues with COVID.
Right.
Not a one. And these other teams.
There was a contingency going in, but yeah, all these other bowl game teams had issues with COVID. Wake Forest had to play Rutgers, for God's sake. Which, by the way, it was interesting when I found out how Rutgers got into that game. Rutgers was placed into that game because of their academic success rate as a team.
I saw that. I think I did see that somewhere.
I didn't know that was a determining factor, or that there was a determining factor period to pick a team to fill in on the bowl game. But apparently it was. Leave it to Rutgers and Wake Forest, two of the most academically proficient institutions, to play each other in a bowl game. It's like two Ivy League schools playing each other in lacrosse. Same thing.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah.
But as for the score of the Natty, I'm going to go 35-17 Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama's going to put up 35 on Georgia?
They did last time.
That's true. That's true. It was a neutral spot. That's true. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. It would not surprise me at this point if on Tuesday morning we're sitting here looking at it like, dang, Alabama just did it again. Like, it doesn't really even feel like out of the ordinary at this point. It's kind of almost expected. It's almost like LeBron James in the NBA Finals. Except if Alabama's in the college football national championship, you kind of expect them to win. Well, LeBron is just like, he might not. It's kind of a 50-50 type thing here. But we do kind of expect to see him in June. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where it feels weird if he's not playing in June. It'd feel weird if Alabama went in the national championship game.
Yeah, absolutely. It would feel weird. Would I have loved to see Cincinnati there? Yeah. But it would have felt weird not to. And it's going to feel weird if Georgia, by some miracle of the imagination, is able to pull this off. Got to get in the break. When we come back, we will dive into the association next here on The Score.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza.
This is Donald Ware, host of Botch the Row. Happy 2022. We're talking the late and legendary Sam Jones, NFL and college football playoff. All of that right here on Botch to Row.
From press box to press row with Donald Ware. Saturdays at 9 a.m. on Tobacco Road SportsRadio.com. Here at Tobacco Road Sports Radio, we ask the tough questions.
Hey, you got any left-handed footballs?
We're never afraid to tell you how we feel.
Oh, we look like the damn Bad News Bears.
We'll debate sports. We'll debate anything.
Man, you lying. You ain't never met Martin Luther King. Not the way out. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he did not.
No matter what, Tobacco Road Sports Radio has you covered.
I'm going to come right back at him. The soldiers.
You're listening to Tobacco Road Sports Radio.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
One Stop Number 6, located at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville, serving fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's the holidays, and what better way to feed your parties and gatherings than One Stop Chicken? Get the whole thing. Feeds 8 people. 16 pieces of chicken, 30 taters, 8 rolls, and 8 sides of coleslaw or potato salad for only $34.79. Come see us at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. That's One Stop Number 6. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza. You are locked into Tobacco Road Sports Radio's TGIF lineup.
Cause it's Friday, you ain't got no job, and you ain't got shit to do.
I ain't set this up. I ain't know nothing about this. This is the most incredible thing I've ever seen. Damn it.
You're welcome. TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
We're back here on The Score with Brett Wiseman here on Tobacco Road Sports Radio, TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Brett Wiseman alongside Desmond Johnson. Des, something just came out a few moments ago that I'd like to say before we move on. This will be the last thing I say about Antonio Brown, I promise. Brown, when asked about he and Tom Brady's relationship, quote, Brown says Tom Brady is his friend because, quote, he needs me to play football.
I mean, where's the lie? That sounds about right to me. Like, he wouldn't be friends with Antonio Brown if he, was ringing up his grocery order or, delivering his pizza.
He doesn't need him to play football. He needs somebody to throw to.
Antonio Brown was employed probably about a month longer than he should have been because of Tom Brady.
Correct.
Like, Tom Brady
stuck up for him.
Yeah, Tom Brady's the reason why he was still there after I think Bruce Arians wanted him gone after the COVID vaccine card. Actually, I think he wanted him gone before that, but I don't
necessarily know that Bruce Arians wanted him, period.
Yeah, right. But, exactly. Yeah. So, it's just I'm thinking between now and then, I'm going to rest my head, go to sleep, wake up in the morning, do the rundown at 10 a.m. There'll be like 3 more tweets from Antonio Brown that pushes this into someplace else.
He might drop another song, too, for all we know.
Yeah, maybe.
The song, look, I know my taste in music is limited to one genre, but the song sucked. I'm sorry.
I haven't heard it yet. I haven't listened to it yet. So
save your eardrums because they'll probably bleed.
Not worth it.
Awful. Don't even give him the 1 cent he'll get from Spotify if you stream it. It's not even worth the penny. How about the association? Real quickly here, and the Charlotte Hornets specifically. Let's start there. Since we last saw you all, or since you all heard us, the Hornets, to some degree, returned to full strength. They've been playing some really, really good basketball of late, and then they've been playing some really not good basketball late. It's the same old with this team. It's the ups and downs. It's the highs and the lows. But the big three, I think it's safe to call them that now. Terry Rozier, LaMelo Ball, and Miles Bridges, they're now a big three in my mind. And first, before we dive into specifics, I want to give the Hornets marketing team all the credit in the world for the All-Star campaign that they're putting together for LaMelo, Terry, and Miles Bridges. It's called Buzz City Burgers, if you haven't seen it. They've recreated Good Burger. Arguably the greatest Nickelodeon movie of all time. I think so. Great movie. Fantastic film. Fantastic skit on all that, if you're old enough to remember that.
Yeah, I'm out of that age range. I'm a little bit older, so I don't really remember.
Shaq was in Good Burger. Come on.
I mean,
Shaq was in it. Sinbad was in it. Keenan, Kel. A lot of good people in there. And, of course, Dan Schneider, who created every show that was ever on Nickelodeon. Anyways, brilliant job. They actually filmed a 45-second spot where the three of them work at Buzz City Burgers. You've got LaMelo fries. You've got Miles' secret sauce. I mean, it's brilliant. If you go to the website, buzzcityburgers.com, there's an actual menu that you can read. But if you go to order now, it's just links to vote for them for the All-Star game. So, again, brilliant. And the Hornets have done that over the years. Before the 2016 election, they used an election thing to get Kemba Walker to the All-Star game. This is nothing new to the Hornets marketing team, but still brilliantly done. When you look at this Charlotte team, though, Dez, sitting 8th in the Eastern Conference right now, a half game ahead of the Washington Wizards, which being 8th does not mean in 2022 what it meant even a couple of years ago because of the play-in, which the Hornets got stuck in last year, and we all remember the result. So,
people got to keep in mind the Hornets, if I'm not mistaken, this was true up until the beginning of last week, I think. The Hornets had played more actual games than any other team in the NBA, and they had played more road games than any other team in the NBA. They're sitting here literally. They're at 20-19. They played 39 games. Miami's played 39 now too. They're ahead of them in the Southeast standings, and
they've played a lot of games shorthanded too.
Right,
but they've had just enough. They've had just enough guys to play.
And in a way, I think that might help them, later on in the year because it got a lot of young legs some run.
Look, James Bouknight impressed the heck out of me. He and JT Thor both in one of those two games against Philly back in early December. But again, Bouknight, Kai Jones looked really good when he played. But look, this is for the first time in a while we can say this team has depth, right? I mean, that's not something we can say a lot of the time. And Mason Plumlee isn't the solution that a lot of people thought he would be at center. And that's certainly something to look at the trade deadline. Miles Turner is, for all we know of, as available gets. DeMarcus Cousins was just waived by the Milwaukee Bucks earlier this morning. So then, we'll look at the stats and everything in a little bit. But look, when you look at this roster, I know I've said this for 3 years now. A top-line center is the missing piece that has been gone since Al Jefferson left.
I think for them, though, I think they're trying to figure out whether or not they're content to just kind of sit on the centers because they have centers on this team. They're just all young. Right. Nick Richards is 24.
That's what I'm saying. Mason Plumlee's not the top line veteran solution that they thought he was going to be.
No,
Nick Richards has gotten a lot of playing time. Vernon Carey still hasn't been brought up. I don't know why he wasn't brought up with the other guys, but yeah,
he's 20 years old. I mean, that's crazy. Vernon Carey played college basketball 3 years ago, at Duke, and was Player of the Year in the conference, and he's been kind of tucked away on the swarm for the past 2 years for Charlotte. He's on this team, but he may be undersized as a center in the NBA, 6'9", for Carey, but they've got dudes on this team. Kai Jones, he's 20. JT Thor, he's 20 or he's 19. So it's
he's 19. Yeah.
Because whoever you go try to get, whether it's like a Sabonis or somebody like that, because I know Indiana's kind of shopping some guys now. Let's say you do that. What does that make Charlotte? Are you willing to trade your young talent for a shot to be in the middle of the pack right now? Or would you rather just kind of sit on it, let them build experience? They kind of remind me of like 2012, 2013 Golden State.
Yeah.
Like before Golden State really started to take off, Steph was dealing with ankle injuries a lot. They still had like Clay had been drafted, but I think they still had who was the guard? He was there when they drafted Steph. Oh my gosh, I can't remember. Mine just went blank. They ended up trading them off because they were trying to play them together. But they had opportunities to trade Steph. They had opportunities to trade Clay, and they didn't. They held on to them and built around them. And I think that's what the Hornets should do here with Ball and Bridges in particular. They should be building around those two as their core. LaMelo Ball is 20. Miles Bridges is 23.
And when you look at the stats of those,
I think we lost Brett here. Stand by. I think we got you back.
yeah, can we all hear me now?
Yeah, there you are.
I might not sound as good as I once did. I believe my microphone came unplugged, but that's what happens when you. There we go. That's
There
what
you
happens when you're on live on the radio and
Yeah.
these things happen. But like I was saying, Miles Bridges is averaging 19.5 a game. LaMelo's averaging 19.3. LaMelo also leads the team in rebounds, assists, and steals. So yeah, there's your core. But you look below that. Rozier, Hayward, Oubre, and P.J. Washington are all averaging double digits in terms of points. Kelly Oubre hit 9 threes in one quarter the other night. So
that was awesome.
He's proving to be more than worth the money. Gordon Hayward seems to finally be coming into his own, at least as far as this year goes. He was a big key to a fair amount of wins last year, but this is, the results might not show it recently. But when you look at the teams that they've had to play, I mean, that West Coast road trip, they've had to play the Suns twice in the past 3 weeks. They had to go out west. And look, at the start of this whole stretch here, they had to play Philly twice. They had to play the Mavericks, Blazers, Suns, Jazz, Nuggets, Suns again. And then there's games they shouldn't have lost, and then games they should have won and ended up losing. It's the same old story with this team, but I don't think you can go off this last stretch and bookmark that as where this team stands. Because, like we said, they went into that West Coast road trip without a lot of their key players. And the fact that they sit where they sit right now, going into going towards the halfway point of the season now, towards the All-Star break and the trade deadline, yeah, the wheels are turning in the front office, but at the same time, I don't really want to shake anything up at this point, especially when 5 guys are averaging double digits in points, and somebody like Ish Smith that you brought in for the veteran minimum is playing some of the best basketball of his career.
Yeah, I would leave the roster as it stands, and if the Hornets get a 5 seed or a 6 seed or something like that this year, that's great. That's progress. This team was nowhere near the playoffs. Just 2 years ago, you get LaMelo Ball. He's a franchise changer. And Mitch Kupchak has done a fantastic job rebuilding this roster in 3 years through the draft. Like, if you look at the talent that this dude has drafted in just the past 3 years between LaMelo Ball, I don't remember. Kupchak did draft Miles Bridges. Vernon Carey, who was a second-round pick. Kai Jones, who they traded up to go get. Cody Martin was a second-round pick. Jalen McDaniels was a second-round pick. Nick Richards was a second-round pick. You know what I mean? Like, they successfully got Kemba Walker off the roster and replaced him with, to be honest, a younger version of him in Terry Rozier, and that's worked out great. And PJ Washington. So I mean, they have built this team the way Golden State built their team early, a decade ago, which was primarily through the draft. And you start bringing in a couple pieces here and there: Gordon Hayward, Ish Smith, Terry Rozier, who was brought in on the swap with Kemba. They're doing fine. Like, I could see this team by the time LaMelo is 22, 23. So like in the next 2 years, 3 years, I could see this team competing for a top 3 spot in the East if they can keep the core together. If they can keep Ball, Bridges, and like you said, probably Rozier. That's probably your big 3 right there. And if looking around the East, that's not a bad big 3 to have. It's probably the youngest big 3 out there, but that ain't bad at all when 2 of the 3 are 23 or younger.
Yeah, exactly. And again, as we said, this is a team that has more depth than we've seen in recent years. And while they were really close to being one of those top 6 teams in the East last year and ended up in the play-in tournament, it's more imperative now to get above that 6-7 cut line to not be in the play-in tournament.
Yeah. I don't know if I like the whole play-in thing.
No, I hate it. But
I did last year because it gave us Golden State versus LA, which was awesome with Steph and LeBron in a 1-game,
We're not going to get that. It's like the MLB wildcard game.
Yeah, we're not going to get that this year.
We're going to get Yankees, Red Sox, but we're going to get that 1 out of 7 years. And on the flip side, we're going to get, a team that's really good get punished for being good because someone else is just slightly better. In the case of the Los Angeles Dodgers, they won 105 games and their prize was a 1-game playoff.
Yeah.
In the NBA, it's not necessarily the same thing, but like you take LA was like 2 or 3 games away from being above that line, and they end up there.
Yep. I mean, I don't know. Going back to your original question with the Hornets and the roster and the way it's configured right now, of course, keeping LaMelo Ball happy is the number one concern because he is your franchise changer. He's the reason why Charlotte's become that team to watch, and pairing him with Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges has completely changed his game to be a threat, as a scorer. And Rozier's out of a slump. So, I mean, again, Charlotte, I was trying to go see record-wise. They're 20-19. They're second in the Southeast Division. But I wanted to see how their record had broken down home and away, and I hadn't got to that part. But they've got a lot of home games coming up here in January, and I think they can start to move up that playoff ladder because of it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. And as we said, it is imperative to get above that line 100%. Because of how we saw the play-in affect things for this team last year. Let's look at the league overall here while we have a minute. And of course, the Western Conference is stacked as it always is. But look, Phoenix is, I think, better than they were a year ago, and they've proven that already. They had that really long win streak earlier on in the year. Golden State is back to their true form, and Klay Thompson potentially could be back on the floor this weekend. That's a huge add for them. Utah's back playing up to form, but I want to get to the Memphis Grizzlies because in that game against LA a few days ago, or I believe it was last week, Ja Morant went toe-to-toe with LeBron James in terms of scoring, in terms of carrying his team. And the question had been asked, okay, Ja Morant is there. We know he's playing good. But has he, arrived as Luka Doncic arrived a year or two ago? Has he arrived like Devin Booker arrived? He's here. He's arrived.
Yeah. Yeah, he's here. It's crazy, too, because it's like you kind of forget that, he's in the same draft as Zion Williamson. Like, he wasn't picked to be that dude out of the draft Zion was supposed to be. And it's almost like Zion's become an afterthought, and Ja Morant's kind of stepped into that role as, I'm the dude out of this draft. And he may very well be, because I've been on record with my thoughts about Zion and his weight and everything else. And I don't even know if he's going to play this year. There's kind of no reason to bring him back with the Pelicans. They're 14-25. They're in, the 13th slot in the West. There's no way they're going to contend for a spot. So why put extra strain on those legs? But with Ja Morant, man, he's doing stuff that we have never really seen from a guy his size. And it's crazy that Morant and Zion both played on the same AAU team as kids.
It's nuts. And, like you said it, you don't need to risk that with Zion, but I have a hard time believing that Ja Morant shouldn't be in the discussion for a top 5 player in this league.
Ooh, that's top 5? I don't know about top 5.
I'd say at the bottom of the top 5, maybe like top 6. What I'm getting at is a lot of things I see from people, and of course I'm more in tune to hockey than I am to the NBA. But what I see from a lot of people is that, and it's part of the fact that the Grizzlies are a small market team. LaMelo has only gotten to his public stature really because of who he was before that in terms of notoriety. People only knew Ja Morant as, oh my God, he's from a no-name school.
Yeah. Well,
other than that,
had a little run in the tournament. That's kind of what put his name out there. And then the association design or whatever, being on that team, people kind of start seeing him who he was then. But he didn't really come to focus for me until the March Madness run. They had a little run there. And other than Zion, that draft, actually, I take that back. That was a pretty strong draft.
It was a good draft
in there, and Cam Reddish was in there. Cam Johnson came out of that draft. Yeah, that was a pretty strong draft. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if I could put him in top 5, but like right off the top of my head, I'm thinking Steph, Durant, Giannis, the Joker.
Right.
Hard? Nah, I wouldn't put hard. LeBron is still top 5.
I'd say Morant's at least in the discussion for
maybe
top 10.
Yeah, maybe I could. And maybe
what I've seen is that it's the he hasn't arrived argument, but he's there.
Well, he's got to do something in the postseason. That's what'll separate.
He hasn't got the opportunity yet. This year I think he does because they actually have a team around him to be competitive all year, and they sit 4th in the West right now. Even if they fall down to 6, as long as they stay above that 6-7 cut line and stay out of the play-in, I think they got a real opportunity to do some really special stuff. One more thing before we break one more time here. When you look back at the East, Chicago is not necessarily better than we thought they would be. I think we had a feeling they'd be this good, but I think we also had a feeling that the Knicks were going to be out to prove last year wasn't a fluke. And while last night was one of the best games I've watched in a while in terms of just entertainment value, the Garden was rocking. Evan Fournier, lit himself up with lighter fluid at halftime and had 40-some-odd points, like 35 of which were in the second half. R.J. Barrett banks in the game winner. 2 historic franchises going like that toe-to-toe, and even though Boston is right below New York in terms of the standings, New York's 10th, Boston's 11th. When you get down to below Atlanta, I think then you're going to see sellers. But this is a very crowded Eastern Conference as compared to the West, where we know really who the 10 best teams are, and that ends with San Antonio. There's teams below that 10 spot, 2, potentially 3 if Indiana figures it out, that could make things interesting.
Yeah, it's funny. The Wizards, the Knicks, they all started out like red hot at the beginning of the season.
The Wizards were the best. The Hornets beat the Wizards and the Warriors in back-to-back games, who at the time were the 2 best teams in their respective conferences.
And they've both fallen back down to earth. I really, looking at the Eastern Conference, I kind of look at it like the cutoff is the 8 with the Hornets, because after that you get to, I mean, the Wizards, they got Bradley Beal and a couple of spare parts from the Houston trade a year ago, but I don't see them really causing a ruckus in the East. The Knicks, I could see the Knicks going a little bit of a run and move up like I kind of put them where Charlotte is in terms of them being a young team trying to figure out what they are, and they're going to hit some lumps as they go. The team that stands out to me like a sore thumb is Cleveland. Like Cleveland isn't supposed to be here, but Cleveland's trotting out like 3 7-footers like in their starting lineup, and like they're playing old school Carolina Tar Heel basketball, where they're just like playing volleyball with the basketball pretty much. And teams got used to spreading out and everybody at the 3-point line and stuff. I'm old school. Like I'd rather take the 5-footer any day of the week. I'd rather see a dunk than a 40-foot 3-point shot. And with Cleveland, I'm just kind of sitting back and seeing what they're doing, because Colin Sexton, if I'm not mistaken, he's out for the year, isn't he?
He is. He's done for the year.
Yeah, and they're doing this. I mean, they're in 6th seed. They're 21-17. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. Like they're interesting. They're an interesting team. But then you get to like the heavy hitters in the East, the 76ers, the Heat, the Bucks, the Nets, and the Bulls.
Especially with Kyrie coming back as a part-time player, that also throws a bit of a wrench into things here.
I don't like that. I don't
really.
I don't think that's going to benefit Brooklyn at all. If anything, I think it might hurt them, because
you think it throws off the chemistry a little bit?
A little bit, because I mean, if you're only going to have them on the road games, like what does that do? Like you can't really game plan to have him when series time comes around, other than maybe 2 or 3 games at that, and that's just really hard. You work a whole year, 82 plus games to build continuity, and now you're going to start sprinkling in a little Kyrie Irving on top of it. Maybe it's because I'm the type where I'm looking at Kyrie like, dude, just go get the shot. You know what I mean? Like, just go get it. Like, it's a work requirement. Go get your shot. If you want to be an NBA player, go get your shot. I get it. Personal preference, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's the personal preference of the Brooklyn Nets to not pay you, if you don't want to work.
It's your requirement of your employer. And look,
it works both ways.
As much as I agree with Aaron Rodgers' stance on vaccines and Carson Wentz's stance and some other guys in the NBA that came out and shared Kyrie's sentiment. In Kyrie's case, unlike the other guys that have spoken out, the state in which he plays and is employed has a vaccine mandate. It's what you have to do.
And it's not going to get lesser or anything.
Yes.
I mean, the cases
if anything, it's more so now. And look, again, I'm all for having your own opinion on it, but your employer requires it. You want to keep your job, you get the shot.
But they're going back against that, though, by letting them play. So exactly. It's almost like he's going to get away with basically being a part-time NBA player, because the Nets are running out of people to play because of COVID. So it's like, I don't know. It's like
let me say this, and we'll actually get to that in the next segment. As far as the views go, the story, I don't think we've ever talked about tennis once on this show, but there's a storyline developing before we go to break that I want to touch on. Novak Djokovic is currently being detained by the Australian government in a detainment hotel, basically, because his visa has not been approved to go play the Australian Open next week because he is not vaccinated. And in order to get a work visa to enter Australia, you have to be vaccinated.
Huh.
So
why are they holding him?
They're holding him because he's not vaccinated.
He can't go home? They can't just send him back where he came?
He's trying to get an exemption for that vaccine mandate until that exemption comes, because he is from out of the country and not vaccinated. And Australia is probably the strictest country when it comes to COVID, has been since this all began. He can't leave his hotel room, period.
Wow.
He's being detained by the government. So throw that on top of there. When we come back, let's do some hockey.
You are listening to The Score with Brett Wiseman on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com. Blue Naples Pizzeria in Kernersville is now hiring. Come work for one of the best Italian restaurants in the Triad. Currently hiring dishwashers, cooks, front cashiers, and more. Great hours, great pay. Give them a call at 336-993-7707 or stop by and inquire at 1519 Union Cross Road in Kernersville. Start working this week. Blue Naples Pizza. Looking to change things up a little? Visit Salon Resi. Located at 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy, Salon Resi is the newest high-end full-service salon and spa in the Triad. Salon Resi Spa includes massages and skincare. Get a full highlight treatment, shampoo and style, color and retouch, and much, much more. Salon Resi, where passion and creativity meet. 765 East Bluemont Road, Suite 200 in Mount Airy. One Stop Number 6, located at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville, serving fresh fried chicken and our famous taters 7 days a week from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. It's the holidays, and what better way to feed your parties and gatherings than One Stop Chicken? Get the whole thing. Feeds 8 people. 16 pieces of chicken, 30 taters, 8 rolls, and 8 sides of coleslaw or potato salad for only $34.79. Come see us at 2748 West Mountain Street in Kernersville. That's One Stop Number 6.
Beamer Tire and Auto Repair, now with 3 locations across the Triad in High Point, Greensboro, and our new location in Kernersville. Beamer Tire and Auto offers full-service auto repair, all tire brands, free alignment checks, oil changes, and more. In Kernersville, check out the no appointment needed Quick Lube shop. Check out their thousands of 5-star ratings via Google and Yelp. They care because they know that you can go anywhere. So try a shop with a beating heart, not a bottom line. Beamer Tire and Auto Repair. Visit us on Facebook or at beamertire.com.
Welcome back to The Score with Brett Wiseman here on TobaccoRoadSportsRadio.com.
Back here on The Score with Brett Wiseman. Thanks to Like Moss the Flames for bringing us back there. They have an upcoming show here in North Carolina. If you are at all interested in that, coming up in April. They'll be in Greensboro at the Blind Tiger. Just throwing that out there. Very good band to see live. If there's any sport on the planet that matches my music taste, it's hockey. So let's get to it, shall we? It's safe to say, I think, as far as the past year and a half have gone and it's still going, the state of Florida is now the state of hockey. No, it's not Minnesota. You lost the Winter Classic in sub-zero temperatures to a team from St. Louis, who I'm a fan of course. But you don't get to call yourself the state of hockey when you're basically playing pond hockey like you supposedly have your whole lives, and you give up 4 goals in 1 period. Sorry. Anyways, especially when 2 teams from warm weather climates are playing out of their minds. The Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers are playing some of, if not the best hockey I've seen either of those teams play. And the Tampa Bay Lightning are back-to-back Stanley Cup champions. I haven't seen... Tampa Bay hasn't had Nikita Kucherov for this long. Saw him play good the last time he was on IR, but, there's that. When you look at... And these 2 teams played each other in the playoffs last year, by the way. When you look at where things stand as far as the 2 of them go, there's a 2-point difference between them. Tampa sits at 23-8-5. They got 51 standings points. Florida's 22-7-5. They sit at 49. Goaltending is exceptional. Their play of their defensive core, especially when they get involved offensively, is exceptional. And when you're talking about being in a division with Toronto and Boston and Montreal, who is not even close to what they were last year, they're still there, though. You're not in that tough a division outside of those 2 teams. So, and as, mediocre as Boston has been playing lately, it's not out of the realm of possibility. Tampa Bay and Florida could pretty much run away with the 1 and 2 spots and, beat the ever-living dog snot out of each other for the top seed in that division. Let's stick in-house, though, to the Carolina Hurricanes very quickly. They sit at 23-7-1, 47 standings points, 1 out of the 2-way tie atop the Metro between the Washington Capitals and the New York Rangers. Frederik Andersen is back. That is the biggest storyline right now for the Canes. Freddie's back. Your netminder that played so well earlier on in the year It's what the Hurricanes have been missing, is a guy that can stand on his head when they need him to and make spectacular saves. Sometimes you need a guy to do that. You need a guy at that talent level. Freddie Anderson is that guy. They get him back, and they put him, they put in front of him a defensive core that is also playing, much like Tampa Bay, some of the best hockey that they've played as a unit that I've seen. So, but there's a lot of competition in that division below them. Pittsburgh has won 10 games in a row now. They have surpassed Carolina's 9-game win streak from earlier in the year for the longest of the year. New Jersey and Philadelphia are still playing really well. There's not a team in that division that has lower than 10 wins, where in every other division there's at least one team that has less than 10 wins, has 10 or less wins. So there's definite competition there, and when you get your starting goalie back, it's a vitally important piece of the puzzle going forward for the Carolina Hurricanes. It's going to do it for us on our, as Steve Wiseman called it, our maiden voyage here on The Score with Brett Wiseman. Special thanks to him, to Josh Scott, to Alex Wober, and to our wonderful producer, Desmond Johnson. Have a great weekend, everybody, and of course, stay safe.